Well, I should start this video with an apology. I really messed up, apparently. I got into some bad habits there. I assumed that I was speaking to a university level audience, and I forgot that I was talking to YouTube. So my videos don't blow up like this. I really don't understand how you guys saw it. I'm happy you saw it. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy for any amount you watched it. And this video is an apology for not adapting to what you needed. First, the video was too long. It was like 17, 18 minutes. YouTube says the average view length is 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And some strong opinions came out of that, 3.5 minute viewing. I think I should make shorter videos, because then maybe you would get through most of it. I think some of the comments, it was clear that you watched the whole thing, so thanks. But I'm a rhetorician. I'm happy to have any audience I can get, and this is a big one. Audience is everything to rhetorician. In rhetoric, we study how to move audiences around. I moved you guys around in a kind of a hitting the hornet's nest kind of thing, not necessarily changing your mind. And that's on me. I didn't make the video as persuasive or focused on the audience as I wanted to. Now, the comments really shocked me. There were comments that didn't shock me. There's the usual ad hominems and the usual non sequiturs and the usual post hocs. All the fallacies came to play. And we won't deal with any of those. There are a couple of comments I want to talk about at the end of the video that I thought were pretty interesting. Well, a kind of a theme of comments on the last video. But what I want to do before I get into that is clear the air on what my argument was in the last video. So we'll do that, I think, a little bit first, and then maybe we might have a little bit of a better engagement on the points that I'm trying to make about the Trump-Biden debate. I would love for them to have another one. I don't think they're going to have another one. I think Joe Biden's in a lot of trouble now because of the way that this debate is being discussed. So let me reiterate my points, my first initial points that I made in the first video, as clearly as I can, so that you can directly disagree with me or agree with me if you want. The first point is that I did say that there's media bias, but not media bias against Trump or against Biden. That's not the point. The media is biased against democracy. They're biased against the action of us having conversations about difference. They want there to be a story, an avalanche of a story in the national media. And that story is that old man is old, which is ageism. That's the definition of ageism. People did not like, or the media, I don't even know what people thought. I think people in the media in a chicken egg scenario did not like that an old man sounded old. And now it's come out that he had a cold and that he needed to rest and chose not to rest. And sounded kind of weird. We don't like old people that sound and look old. We also have medicalized being elderly as a sickness. So all old people are sundowning people or have dementia or have memory loss. That's the bias I'm talking about. I'm not saying that they pick and choose, what to talk about. And here's an example of that. Okay, here is an example of how the media has ignored and biased against debate, which is my point. This is the question about Hamas and Israel, huge issue. And when Trump goes to respond, he makes this strong claim that he wants Israel to go and finish the job, and Biden isn't doing that. I don't know what else Biden could do to support Israel. He's 100% in support of Israel. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one. This never gets mentioned or talked about as a strange or weird or bizarre moment in the debate. This isn't brought up as a moment of cognitive impairment in the debate because we're too focused on appearance. We're too focused on old man sounds old. Now, why does this matter? Why does it matter? In democracy, democracy survives when we have different registers of how to speak to each other, different kinds of speaking. So if I say I do not support Joe Biden, I support Donald Trump, I can say it's because of policy, it's because of his attitude, it's because he seems presidential, it's because he has historical success, whatever I want to say. But it has to be a variety of things, or I'm never going to reach you with just one claim. The media should be helping with that. Instead of repeating over and over again, old man is old, which is all they've been doing. I went back and looked, and New York Times is running stories on this last February. Joe Biden's too old to run. Trump and Biden are pretty much the same age. So it's really about the appearance. He seems like he's on the decline. Okay, I mean, I guess that could be part of your decision, but a debate should be cutting through those assumptions. In debate, the way we teach it at the university, the way it's taught at the high school level, is where you have to get over people's hang-ups with delivery, that you don't like how they sound, or, they have a speech impediment, which Joe Biden does, or anything like that. Any kind of, you have to get past the snooty kind of egotistical attitude of Trump and really listen to how they're connecting things. A debate should be evaluated on, one, the evidence. That's the shared reality, the shared discussion of what exists between you and me. That's something that both of us can access openly and equally. That's what evidence is. Second, reasoning. How do I, not you, how do I read that evidence? And thirdly, how does that reading of that evidence form my opinion of what we should do, or my opinion of the nature of reality? Those are the three steps of what we look at in a debate, and why debate's so valuable, because it's one of the few places in the world where we can isolate that. Media didn't do that. Old man is old. Donald Trump wasn't crazy. That's not a way to evaluate a debate. You could evaluate any of their political speech on those lines. So that was my first big annoyance. Second annoyance is a bad debate performance doesn't disqualify you from running for president. A bad policy, bad speeches, bad evidence that you can't think, that would disqualify you. But one debate, it's not enough. If I did that, if I had a debate class and somebody gave a bad debate and I said you should be expelled from the university, that would sound ridiculous. You still should have the opportunity to pursue a degree even if you did one bad assignment or even one bad class. Even take it that high. You should still be able to try to graduate. That's the other thing I was upset about. It's anyone can have a bad debate. That's part of being human and being in a democracy, and saying, man, I really screwed that up. I hope I get another opportunity to try to debate and make my point. I mean, I think that's why all of you are watching YouTube, right? You like debates? I mean, a lot of you in the comments are having these weird debates I don't really understand, but I think you're part of a community of some kind, and there's a lot of coded language in the comments, and you're understanding each other. I'm just the outsider of that, but that's healthy, good communication within a community. I really don't know what it is. I can't guess, but that's kind of how it works. Is you can kind of riff off of it. So a good debate, the media should say, look at the different positions that were made. Here are some of the different positions. Let's talk about some of those different positions. Not Biden sounded old. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm getting worked up again about it. So the final point I want to make is that debate is not a presidential activity. The only time a president or presidential candidate debates are these media events. This is not representative of what a president does. It is not representative of whether they would do well at being a president. This is part of our democratic political theater and tradition that helps us become a little bit more educated. Well, it's supposed to help us become a little more educated. Oftentimes these debates fail at that. That's another video. But I do have a whole series of history of presidential debate videos if you want to go watch. And I go through the whole history of presidential debates up until the Bush, up until Obama on that series of videos. But I could make more. I think I might make more. If you wanted to watch those, it's pretty good for talking about the role and the value of debate in a democratic society and whether these presidential debates do it or not. So if you're saying Biden screwed up the debate so he would be a bad president, that doesn't make any sense. That's not what presidents do. When presidents address an issue, they sit in a room with advisors. They have the final say, but you have the best advisors and the best data in the world at your fingertips. And the president calls somebody and says, come to the White House and give us a briefing, they go. Whether it's Trump, Biden, Obama, whoever. The best advisors go. Whether the president can understand them or wants to employ what they advise, different question. But we have to look at a full slate of things before we can determine if we should vote for somebody to be president. And on this, can I also say you shouldn't be like voting against somebody for president. You should endorse somebody. Look at Rand Paul's recent comments. Right? He doesn't like Biden, but he's not going to endorse Trump. I think that's very telling. That's the kind of nuance we need for a healthy democracy, not this two-sided sports kind of thing. So debate is not a presidential activity. When would they do this other than on the campaign trail to help educate us about how they put things together? And then the media is not even providing that. So maybe, they're sensationalizing it by concocting the story that Joe Biden's mentally unfit. Whereas, like I just showed you, there's weird stuff Trump said. They're not saying anything about that because the story there is Trump didn't yell and scream and break the rules and shout and do what he did in the 2020 debates. That was what they expected. So since he didn't do it, the media has nothing to say. But there's so much they're shorting us on as far as the quality of the conversation we could be having is being screwed up. Okay, so 2 final things about the comments. Some of you left pretty good comments where you're giving evidence and things like that. That's good. That's what we want for democratic decision making, but it's missing my larger point, which is that one debate doesn't disqualify you from running. Bad policies would disqualify you from being voted in. Bad thinking, which is what debates might show us. Bad reasoning, that would be a reason to not vote for somebody or to prefer the other candidate, I guess. But then there's this thing from people who are saying, I am a healthcare provider and I work with dementia patients and I know what it looks like, or I've had relatives who had dementia, so I know what it looks like. Okay, so the Goldwater Rule. Are you familiar with this? Chat? I guess you're not really the chat. The Goldwater Rule is something that occurred when Barry Goldwater ran for president in 1964. And what happened was there was a survey of psychiatrists, psychologists, and others about Barry Goldwater's mental fitness. And they all said things like he has the same psychology as Hitler or Stalin because he had sort of extreme views. He's very similar to Donald Trump. He had these very clear and direct kind of right-wing views and scared a lot of people. And so they came in and they were like, he's kind of like crazy. They said he has the same pathological makeup as Hitler and things like that. And Goldwater sued, saying that this cost him the election. Now, you might remember this because the Goldwater Rule came up in 2016 and 2020 with Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump a psycho, was the conversation. Is he too crazy to be president? And this was a big fight about it. And some people decided to say, well, maybe he's a narcissist. Maybe he has mental illness. But there was a large debate about this, about should you be able to diagnose somebody just based on their behavior on the campaign trail? And the answer is no. So even if you are a medical expert, based on the Goldwater Rule, you probably shouldn't be doing that because it short circuits the democratic process. We're not interested in the mental fitness of a candidate. We're interested in the mental fitness, their ability to reason, their ability to use evidence to drive decisions, their policy history, what kind of policies they support, their ability to help us out by supporting policies, laws, and running the government in a way that benefits all the citizens of the country. Foreign affairs, domestic affairs, all of it. That's what we should be interested in. Not old man sounds old at one debate, which is what the media has done. And now they're talking about replacing Joe Biden, and lots of the Democratic Party split. So it's undue influence from one event. Why would this debate matter that much? No debate matters that much. Not one. As somebody who spent almost my whole life teaching people how to debate and evaluating debates, not one debate matters that much. I lost the studio audience there, as you can see. Well, it's probably near the end of the video because I know you guys' attention span is not, we're coming up on the absolute limits of it. But yeah, try to watch more than 4 minutes of a video. When you comment on it, it'd be good. Some of you did that. Appreciate that. I appreciate it if you only watched 3 minutes. keep coming back. I'll keep making these videos because I think it's important that this perspective get out there. It's not the perspective of Joe Biden's being treated poorly. It's the perspective that we are being treated poorly because we're not being offered different ways of thinking and different things to put into our basket of why we're going to vote for one candidate over another one. That's my issue. Debates can be powerful tools. In this case, the debate is not helping us. I mean, it's definitely not helping Joe Biden. It's not really helping Donald Trump that much. I mean, you could argue that it is, but we're the ones who are really being screwed because we're not being given tools to see things in a different way, in a different perspective, to make sure that we are actually committed to the best choice, the best person we think should be president, because they will support the policies that will benefit us. That is my concern, and that's the major point from that video. Last thing I'll say is, yes, I am actually a Ph.D. There's a lot of comments about that. I am. I am actually a professor. My name is my channel. You can go look me up and see. The big fallacy. There's a big fallacy, like post hoc fallacy. Because I talk like this on YouTube doesn't mean I would talk like this in the classroom. Do you talk to your boss the same way you talk to your friends? Do you give a professional presentation at work the same way you talk to your family? No. We have different discourses for different roles in our life. To assume that I teach like this is, it's a non sequitur or it's a post hoc, depending on how you see the fallacies. Non sequitur is in, it doesn't follow that because I talk this way, that I would talk this way all the time in all my classes to all my students. Doesn't make any sense. And it might be a post hoc because you see me speaking this way, it means I speak this way all the time to everyone, and this is how I teach in the classroom. Absolutely not. And you can find lectures and videos of me teaching on this channel. But those people probably didn't make it to the 18-minute mark again. Well, I guess if the best evidence that I'm a professor is that I talk too much. So let's end it there. More videos to come. Let's go in the comments. Let's see what you guys think about this one. And glad you're here, regardless of your opinion.